What's the worst case you've seen of someone trying to play the victim when it was all their own fault? I was in a crowded parking lot, driving around looking for a space. There was one car ahead of me. The car ahead of me stopped, so I stopped as well. I'm not sure why she stopped because there were no empty spaces and no one was pulling out, but whatever. Then, before I even had time to react, her reverse lights came on and she came flying backwards towards me. I didn't even have time to honk. She slammed into the front of my car, got out of her car, and started screaming that I hit her. When officers arrived, she was crying and shaking and complaining that her neck hurt and cursing me for slamming into the back of her car. Thankfully, 2 people had been walking through the parking lot when this occurred and told the officer what really happened. Later, the driver of the car that hit me tried to tell her insurance company that I knew the witnesses and that's why they lied. I didn't know the witnesses, by the way. At any rate, if the witnesses hadn't stuck around to give statements, I'd have been screwed. My mom ruined my courthouse wedding, called me selfish and made fun of my shoes on my wedding day, and made me swear to her that I wouldn't tell our family I was getting married until we had a big ceremony. Then proceeded to go behind my back and tell people anyway. She's now genuinely surprised that I am upset and going around crying to all my aunts and uncles about how her only daughter will not speak to her. A woman rear-ended my car in the car wash of all places. She failed to put her car in neutral and rolled right into me. She then proceeded to yell at me and insist that it was my fault for not going fast enough. After we finally convinced her that the track always goes the same speed, she decided to blame the car wash employee for making the track too slow. My friend's sister. She doesn't feed her kids nor send the oldest one, 7, to school. Her neighbors reported her to CPS, and now she's posting statuses about how cruel people are for separating a mother and her kids. An older lady walked into a construction area where she knew she wasn't supposed to go just to snoop around when the workers weren't there and then sued because she slipped on a plastic floor covering. She worked there. She knew the area was off limits. It anyway. Sometimes my children ask me why they've met my mother but never met my father. I tell them he died a long time ago when I was a kid. In reality, my dad used to be an abusive drunk, and my mother had to kick him out because he used to beat on us kids. We used to spend weekends at his new house, but around the time I turned 10 he told my mother to stop dropping us off, and gave her a shoebox full of all the pictures he had of us. We tried calling him on holidays every now and again, but he finally just told us to stop contacting him altogether. Last year my mother passed away, and he decided to reach out to me and expressed he had changed and wanted to make things up to me. I told him it was okay. I filled him in on how I was doing in life and sent him pictures of my children. But I expressed I was already a man, and don't need a father anymore, but he was forgiven for the 20-year absence. He then proceeded to tell me that I'm horrible for pushing him away and abandoning him, that he was dying and just wanted to fix things. So I just explained to him, it's already forgiven, but he abandoned me and I had no time for his foolishness. I wish things would have been different, but he's too much of a bad influence to allow in my children's lives. Edit. I'd like to thank everyone for the positive support and encouragement. I hope everyone who shared a similar experience can find happiness regardless of us having crappy upbringings. You're a good parent and good person for being firm with him. Facebook drama from a few years ago. This girl was leaving a bar drunk, and she backed her car into the car of someone she was an acquaintance with while exiting the parking lot, then the next day went off on him for telling the police he saw her do it, when he knew she was poor and could have just said he didn't see it and had his insurance pay. She kept digging a deeper hole and all the replies were like, bitch, don't drive drunk. It was glorious. Insurance would pay for it either way. This way her premium goes up, not his. If he reported it as he didn't see who did it, it would show as an at-fault accident on his driving history. If in the US, my ex-husband got arrested for having child porn. He blamed me, saying it was my fault. He was so depressed he went looking for it. Edit. I did not expect this comment to get so much attention. Thank you for the supportive comments. Some follow-up. His depression defense worked. He was given 8 months house arrest, no jail time. Fast forward several years to now, he is sitting in jail awaiting trial, charged with first-degree sexual abuse of a minor. This is messed up. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I quit my job and set up my own competitive business with my ex-employer after he failed to pay me for 2 months, claiming non-payment from the clients. He had a massive go at me after I confronted him with receipts from the clients to show payment, and he accused me of making him look bad in front of his clients and that he didn't owe me the money because some people are bosses and some people are employees, hence why I quit the job and set up for myself, because last time I checked, slavery is illegal in the UK. I also warned a few of my ex-co-workers to be careful and not let him rack up debt with them because of what he did to me. They are nice people with young families and don't deserve to be taken advantage of, like he did to me. I take him to court to try to recoup the money he owed me for the work I completed, and the judge ruled in my favor for the full amount of just over £4,000. He then plays the victim card with everyone he knows and says that I made him and his family homeless despite the fact that he never paid me a penny of the money owed. £4,000 is like 5 to 6 months rent in a decent neighborhood in my city. Honestly blows my mind every time I think about it. Short story, the dude stole over £4,000 from me, never pays me back, blames me for making his family homeless. I lost a lot of weight, 150 pounds, my overweight friend didn't. I don't care, she's my friend, I love her. Tried on a pair of size 12, size 8 US, jeans, but they were too big, so asked for the smaller size. Before I could try them on, my friend stormed out of the shop, and when I followed her she screamed at me for rubbing my weight loss in her face. I lost the weight in 2015, I've been this size for 4 years. What did she want you to do? Buy pants that don't fit, wasting your money, to spare her feelings? I once witnessed a car accident where a lady blew a red light and another car, whose light had clearly turned green, didn't see her and hit her broadside. The innocent driver had her view obscured by my vehicle also entering the intersection. I was able to stop, but she couldn't. After the impact, witnesses stopped to help, and the lady who ran the red light tried to argue she was going through on a yellow and that her neck hurt. Apparently she had the nerve to attempt a lawsuit over it, because I was later interviewed, deposed over the phone by crazy lady's lawyer, who tried to trip me up by saying another witness claimed to be the same place I was. Too bad, man. I was right there. And there's no way in heck you can paint me as an unreliable witness for your client to steal money from an innocent for her own stupid mistake. This guy got upset, saying we were always talking about him behind his back. He would creep up to the door in our apartment and stand there listening to our conversations. Of course we would talk about him. He owed 2 of us over $600 and refused to pay it. And then we were the bad people because we would talk about it, in our own apartment, not knowing he is creeping around the door. My crazy college girlfriend cheated on me and then blamed me for causing problems in our relationship by being obsessed with the truth as I figured out what had happened. Edit, this was a long time ago, but it amuses me that 10,000 plus people have rolled their eyes at her. Better to be obsessed with the truth than with a lie. My best friend's ex-girlfriend. Basically her ex was kicked out of her parents' house when she told them she was a lesbian. She moved in with my best friend since they were dating at the time. First she told my GF that she was too depressed to find a job. My best friend was okay with that, even if it meant she'd have to work more, which she did. She even found a second part-time job. For the next 6 months, whenever my best friend asked her if she found a job, she'd always get the "I'm too depressed" response. Eventually my best friend finds out her girlfriend cheated on her. Her excuse for cheating was, "You're always at work and never have time for me. Need someone who will be there for me." My best friend kicks her out and then her ex blames her for having to move back in with her parents. The kicker, turns out her parents never really kicked her out. She was just tired of them telling her to get a job. Wow. Real piece of work, that one. Local business owner / friend asked a lot of his regular customers to invest in his new business in Atlanta, by buying shares. I bought in, knowing we wouldn't break even for at least 3 years, but that he could sell religion to the Pope. Had losses for 2 years, break even at 3 years predicted. 4 years in, he closes the Atlanta store and opens in another town, but this time he's doing it all with his own money. Bullshit. He's doing it with the inventory and proceeds from the Atlanta store. Even has a shiny new house, cars, the works for his new venture. He's shocked to the core, and hurt, I tell you, hurt and disappointed. when all the shareholders took him to court. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for the gold and the comments and the concern. Our lawsuit basically never got off the taxiway, and as one of the good Redditors below mentioned, it soon looked like the cost of going through the courts would quickly outpace our losses. People started dropping off and it fell apart. The original store and the Atlanta store were closed. Those bridges he well and truly burned. The final store has changed names but appears to be going strong. No way in hell will I name the business. I don't doubt for a second that while we smaller potato investors weren't ready for a long court fight, the owner would have no qualms about bringing a defamation suit against me in a heartbeat. Sometimes, karma is just asleep at the wheel and you have to accept it. My sister's friend was beaten up by her boyfriend and stayed the night downstairs of our house with her 3 kids. Next day he comes around, starts cursing her out, saying she stole his kids, grabs the baby and starts walking away with him. She chases him trying to get the baby back and he punches her several times in the face. My brother intervenes and separated them. This asshole leaves and brings back the cops to arrest my brother for assault. My brother, our whole life, has blamed our middle-class upbringing for him taking zero responsibility. He's basically a 40-year-old version of no one gets me. He spends his money recklessly, has turned down opportunities to advance himself in lieu of making YouTube videos in his shed ranting about how richies keep him down. It's pathetic. And GT, richies. Damn it, stop calling me Richie, it's Richard, and will you please get back to work? When I was teaching, I had a student I adored who had some behavior problems. I did everything I could to support him. One day, we were taking a test and he was talking. I reminded him several times that talking during a test is not allowed, and I would have him go in the hallway if he continued. He continued talking, so I told him to go into the hall. He called me autistic on his way out, his favorite insult, and so I wrote him a referral. I called his parents and they didn't answer, so I sent an email explaining what happened, that he got a referral, and that I hope we can work together to help him manage his reactions. His mother responded saying that my behavior is unacceptable and that she is done speaking with me and I will hear from her lawyer. She went all the way up to the district level to complain about me, telling all sorts of lies and making me look like a horrible person. I don't teach anymore. My mom consistently tries to play the victim when her kids, don't want to see her. She'll post on Facebook about how her kids don't love her, call extended family members to complain, and just make stuff up so that people think we don't love her or something. In reality, she makes it so unbearable to visit her we don't want to. She tries to treat us like we're still toddlers. First time I brought my wife, yep I'm married, to see her I was going to book a hotel. My mom threw a fit because I wasn't staying at her place. So my wife convinces me to give my mom's place a chance, because at this point she doesn't know. My mom said she'd have the guest bedroom ready for us. In reality it was a twin bed with Toy Story bedding and a princess sleeping bag on the ground. Well, I can barely fit into a twin bed, so my wife took it while I slept on the ground. We got a hotel the next night. During the next couple days my mom tried to convince us to give her a grandchild. Bought my wife lingerie, presumably to make her a grandchild. Tried to put me in timeout. Threatened to spank and mouth soap my wife. Tried to sleep in our hotel room. Took us to Babies R Us to try to convince us to have a kid. And a bunch of other things. Yet in all this she's the victim of kids who don't love her. I've literally gotten calls from extended family telling me how I have to see my mom more,